Here I am, Leon C., a.k.a. Morpheus, the author of the book 2020, America Rise or Fall Hard. I received a emailer just a moment ago, actually an email, and I went over it. It took some time to read it. It was very theatrical, and this man explained to me the dramatic situations that he had gotten himself into while dealing with certain women. Now, as y'all know, my channel is actually based on multiple subjects. I am all about the knowledge. I'm all about empowerment, about your mind, body, and your spirit, and definitely your health. But in this particular video, I decided to share something with you viewers that may cover a lot of questions concerning any subject that I talk about that pertains to the hidden civil war between man and woman, and why it is such a hellish situation to get in when it comes to a relationship. See, too many of the men and women do not quite comprehend how deep the rabbit hole goes. Now, speaking of the rabbit hole, I'm going to go ahead and give you men this red pill. And some of you women, since you are listening to the sound of my voice, obviously you have the benefit of getting the red pill as well, to at least listen in to what us men are talking about. Now, stay tuned, like as you can, and subscribe it, and support this channel, because no matter what, it will grow, and I will do as I can as Morpheus, because I care about the future generation. I care about the children, and I definitely care about you, that you are being fed with proper knowledge. Basically, his email was explaining to me why is it that he constantly have been driven into dramatic situations as he was in a relationship. This was a younger gentleman, the age of 23, who also have explained that his brother at the age of 42 is also dealing with the similar situations. You would have thought that the 42-year-old would have greater experience, but sadly, a lot of us today in America is so deceived and so distracted and so programmed by our past parenting generations to be blue pill, to not concentrate on the in-depth value of our existence, and definitely not to study or see the world for what it really is. We are raised to be pampered, raised to be sensitive, raised to be overly, you could say, unbalanced when it comes to real value. So I'm going to get on to the message here. I'm going to share an experience with y'all that I have witnessed as a bystander. Years ago, I wasn't the type of person to hang out in groups or large groups. I told you that before. I usually stayed to myself and sat back and studied and watched and learned from other groups and people. There was a day where I went out on a meeting, and from leaving the meeting, I was in a downtown business district, and I noticed there was a group of people who were just talking outside, such as they were just eating and lounging around this outside restaurant area. I don't think they were serving alcohol. It was just an eatery type of place. And as I walked past, just enjoying myself, hands in pocket, I noticed as I was standing on the other sidewalk, just Actually, I was just standing there on the other sidewalk before moving on, but the light changed as I began to hear some uproaring of talking, as if there was a couple arguing or something happened across the way. So I sat for a moment to try to peek out what was going on across the street, that is. And I witnessed this man who just so happened to be walking past. And there was a group of rowdy women who were having apparently a girls' night out. They were a little bit too loud, a little bit brazen and confident, and just a simple, common party girl type of scenario. And I saw the guy, when he walked past, he just about tripped. And I thought he dropped something or something of that nature, or that he knew the girls. But come to find out, as I listened in, and it seemed like he tripped, he turned back around and began approaching the group of girls. And I began to hear him say that one of them stuck the foot out and tried to trip him, basically. And he began to confront the girls about their behavior and how disrespectful it was for one of them to try to trip him on his walk. And there weren't a lot of men around. There were several men inside of the place. There was a couple who was looking around the corner. There was probably one that was obviously in the window just trying to figure out what was going on himself, but just observing. Okay? Apparently the man didn't like the fact that she was tripping. I didn't think that it was a jokeful type of gesture, and if that was her come on line, that was a very ignorant way to do it. And as you know, a lot of women have a problem with knowing how to say what they want. And on the other half, they really don't have a practice with the come on lines anyway, or telling the man that she's interested in him without making herself look like a clown. But I quickly surmised by evaluation that it wasn't specifically she was interested in the guy. They're just having a good time and doing girly things and just being careless and loud and rowdy, and just so happened to get an innocent bystander involved. But anyway, make a long story short, he began to approach them, and again, when he was verbally in a verbal confrontation with the girls, or one specifically who stuck her leg out and just about tripped him, immediately it seemed like it was a movie. 3 or 4 different guys came from nowhere, especially the guy that was inside the window. Immediately began to walk out the door and pretty much get in this man's face and try to push him away from her as if he was getting ready to hit her. Obviously he wasn't going to. He just was confirming or just confronting her for her actions because she did wrong. She shouldn't have did that. I mean, what if he fell and he fell on his face? What if he was actually tripped to the point where he dropped his wallet, his money fell down one of those gutters that's sitting on the side of the sidewalk? Or what if he tripped right in the middle of the street while a car was coming? You know, it was inappropriate for her to act out the way she did. But however, getting to the story, I sat and watched. I had my arms folded, and knowing me as Morpheus, I like to study and learn so I can continue to give it a red pill. So I found my way around the corner a little closer so I can listen in without getting myself involved, because I was thinking it was going to be a dramatic scene. You got 4 or 5 of these guys confronting this one guy who's pretty much just upset and innocent. And I was pretty much thinking they was going to attack him for nothing. So I needed to be a witness to see just exactly how this thing is going to play out. But the sad part about it is, my American people, as I sat there with my arms folded and listened to everything, all these guys that were standing around these pretty much 3 or 4 different girls sitting there, especially the one who was at fault, none of them questioned the women as to what they did. None of them knew the entire scenario. All of them pretty much camped around them and wanted to protect these girls. They seemingly looked like a group of college girls just out for fun. a little too much fun. None of them begin to listen even to the man's story. I heard him several times saying that she pulled her legs out and pretty much tried to trip him while he was on his walk, and he didn't appreciate that. And he explained several times as well, and he asked her, why did you do it? Why did you do it? That's all I can ever hear is, why did you do it? There was no response. She didn't say because she liked him. She didn't say she didn't mean to. And as a matter of fact, when she did get to the point to where she apologized, she wasn't really sincere. There was a smirk in her voice, as in just to get this guy out of her face. Just to say, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. Whatever. Yeah, just whatever. And so after a few minutes, good thing there was no authorities that were called, because the guy had enough gumption and boldness to walk away without extending it further. Upset, face was red. And after a few minutes, the guy began to walk away again, and come to find out, the guys that were there, the 4 or 5 different beta guys, they began to talk to the ladies about what happened in the situation after it was all done, which they should have thought about that ahead of time. And if anything, their whole gesture, my MGTOW and Men of the World, was they were beta blue pill guys, the white knights to come to the girls' rescue without getting the answers first, without comprehending the situation. Even if the woman is wrong, you will find a white knight somewhere stepping out of place to step out of line to protect these women who are generally wrong, generally unbalanced, generally unfair with all these prospects of white knights and soldiers that comes to her rescue. While men are constantly picked on, men are constantly put in a compromised situation, men are constantly confronted by her bad behavior, where she does not receive any reprimand. She's not scolded. She's not left to her own devices. She's not left to learn what she's done wrong. If anything, she's motivated to do even more wrong when she feels there's no consequences behind it. So, be it as it may, fortunately, which was a good thing, that same gentleman began walking in my direction, because I'm still listening to conversation of what was going on, at least afterwards. And I gently stepped out just a little bit in front of him, and I asked him, I said, hey, I noticed that there was a little ruckus going on over there. What happened? Because, it seemed like it didn't seem right. I heard something, but I need to hear it from your mouth. So the gentleman pretty much told me that as he was walking, one of the girls at the table dared her friend to stick her foot out to try to trip this stranger, try to strip this man, trip him, pretty much. And she just about almost succeeded when he was able to catch his balance, which that's what I kind of figured that I saw from across the street. And he said all he was going to do was ask her why would she do such a crazy thing. It was dangerous. There was another way for her to say hello. And this is clearly not the time to be playing and joking around. And then when he decided to do so, all of a sudden, all the men came around to try to confront him as if he was the wrong person about it. So, make a long story short, I let him know that it wasn't specifically his fault, that I understand the situation, and it happens all the time, yada, yada, yada. And I congratulated him for at least walking away from the situation and not escalating it to an unnecessary level. But it taught me something that night, and I never really talked about it until now, because this emailer, whenever you guys, you American family, you power pushers of mine who are interested in learning something, usually when you email me or you contact me about something, it gives me something to think about. And most times it reflects on situations, red pill moments in the past, or even moments of spirituality, moments of strength, moments of health that I have encountered, that I have the ability to share with you. So you awaken those dormant memories that I have generally kept to myself. So for you men listening to this short audio clip, it's not long and drawn out. It's simple and to the point as I can make it, because I can be long-winded when it comes to power conversation. There are two things that you must realize: that we are dealing with the time here, and it seems like it's still going on. And that was several years ago, that situation where women have the ability to create a catastrophe and do not feel entitled or accountable for her actions. So she becomes this entity of chaos and a bully mentality that men have to watch out for. Not only do you have to watch out for that aspiration, on the other end, you have to watch out for blue pill beta guys who are programmed from childhood to protect them, to keep them in a position where they feel like they don't need to be accountable for their action. They don't have to apologize. They don't have to turn around and say, I'm sorry for their behavior. They don't have to think about their eerie ways. They don't have to change their perspective. And one of the big things also, I know what some of you may be thinking, no, that's not a flirting and come on thing that the girl was doing. It was just outright wreckful. I don't say reckless. It was wreckful. It was dangerous. All right. And even if we wanted to pull in that type of subject, okay, on that end of it, on a general basis, women do not feel like they have to approach the men. Women don't feel like they have to create come on lines or to generate some type of words to get any man to be alluring, because there's too many beta blue pill guys in the world. There's too many white knights that will flip over backwards by the programming when they were kids to do all that he can for this girl, who in return isn't doing all that she can for him. So pretty much she become pampered and the game become rigged, and he ends up at a disadvantage by also disadvantaging other men who might have the potential or might be the proper suitor in that woman's life. But because she constantly have her uncles, big brothers, government, and ex-boyfriends that are always surrounding around this girl, she is woefully at I would really say she's at a disadvantage for not seeing reality for what it is, or her bad behaviors. Until, of course, as what most you men know, and some of you older women, she find herself at home alone, eating cat food with her cats, and crying away her sobs with a glass of wine and no man around. That's the results, and that's the consequences. However, you men must keep your eyes open and your head up to realize your behavior also is an extreme consequence to the ignorance that we have here in America. That you do not need to, and you should not always think that you need to come to the rescue of a woman, especially if you don't gather the facts. Anyone and everyone can completely comprehend if she was getting the brakes beat off of her, okay, for no reason, or because he's just a plain assailant, what do you want to call it? That may be a different story, but generally, even then, you must keep your knowledge on your chest. That today, on a general basis, it's not because she didn't do anything at all. There is and always will be, because of the type of women that we have today, they have the potential to instigate. They are usually the ones who will cause a catastrophe and sit back and let it become chaotic and out of control. She's usually the one to be the one to do the picking on, the teasing, and the unnecessary acts. And then when the man reacts to her reactions, her soldiers begin to come around the corner. Soldiers who are just beta blue pill, ignorant and unself-loving men who will not comprehend that they're actually protecting something that's more devastating than it is a healing for himself and other brothers of the American nation. So let this be a lesson to you. Let this side story that I have experienced put some thought in your mind. And this isn't just Morpheus's experience. This is happening around the world. This is happening in all sorts of places. This is happening more common than what you think it is, in situations that are a lot more worse than that. situations where practically the woman herself will be given a certain length of, you could say, power within her hands, and she's willing to push all the negative buttons. And then when everything goes out of whack and chaotic and explodes, then she would generally just sit there and pretend as if she had nothing to do with it. And then, of course, you have guys who are willing to come to her rescue because all they want to do is just spend time with her intimately, at the risk of even their own life and all the other brothers here in the United States of America, where all men become disbenefit. You got to understand, men, that every man is at a disbenefit and a disadvantage when you come to a rescue of a woman who is at fault of a situation, when she caused it to begin with, when she's the one that you need to question and not your fellow men who are generally the ones who are being picked on. You got to comprehend that men are at a disadvantage today. You got to comprehend that even if there are some men who are doing wrong, even if there is, where we know it to be to a percentage of men who step out of line and become the ones who to assault. Okay, it's only in its variations, but that does not give the majority of the men an excuse to be at a disadvantage for what those very few men are doing. Still, when you do the math, when you do the calculations, men are still generally at a disadvantage around America and around the country. Whereas women are constantly on a pedestal. Women are constantly put in a great position. Women are constantly benefited with all the assets and possibilities of success. Whereas us men, we have to suffer and go through unnecessary scrutiny. And we are considered as wrong before we are even proven right, because of the entitled women here in America, who are generally the bane of the chaos and the root of the problem itself. So keep your eyes open and always get the facts first. Don't jump in and be the white knight, and avoid chaos at all possible by comprehending that these women are not sugar and spice and everything nice. As a matter of fact, I like the expression wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay, whereas this is a very beautiful sheep. It's very nice, it's very soft, and all it does is make a small whimper. But underneath, it is the wolf. It is the monster that creates the distortion that blinded men who are only full of testosterone and ignorance will not ever see. So therefore, we have a current struggle and a constant struggle between the beta blue pill guys versus alpha guys who are aware and have taken the red pill a long time ago. So that's his audio. Like it, share it, and subscribe it on your way out the door. And take a look at that book, 2020 America Rise or Fall Hard, and make sure whatever comments you put below is decent, is nice, and that you understand what I'm saying is not Morpheus's opinion. This is actually happening right underneath our noses. So we must be aware.